มีหลายอย่างอยู่นอกบ้านเฮาตอนนี้
For the past 29 years, one man has dedicated his life to watching movies, with the single goal of separating the great from the grating. That man is Richard Crouse.
More fan mail. Thanks, Max. Welcome to This Week on Movies. Our topic this week is, how can we miss you if you won't go away? We're having a look at former child stars. See if you can spot the former child star in our first movie, Ides of March.
You okay?
We're gonna be fine. We have to do it. It's the right thing to do, and nothing bad happens when you're doing the right thing.
Is this your personal theory? Because I can shoot holes in it.
Well, there's exceptions to every rule. Who is this?
Tom Duffy. You got a couple of minutes? I'd like to sit down with you.
I can't be talking to you.
You got something the other guys don't have.
Kicking off our look at former child stars, we'll have a look at the Ides of March, starring former Mouseketeer Ryan Gosling, who plays the campaign manager for a Democratic candidate played by George Clooney. Now, the first hour of this movie is filled with the backroom dealings of the opposing teams and all the kind of political intrigue that you expect from a look at a highly supercharged campaign. Then, about an hour in, something happens. I'm not going to tell you what that thing is, but there's a twist and it changes the entire tone of the movie. So really what you're getting here is two movies for the price of one.
So you're certain you're going to win here?
Certain, no. Confident, yeah.
You just said you win by 9.
And I think that we will. St. Gabriel can blow his horn on Election Day and get his 4 horsemen to rig the ballot boxes for Pullman, and it wouldn't surprise
me. Now, the real reason to see this movie, though, is the acting. Superlative acting turns from George Clooney, Marissa Tomei, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti, and let's not forget our former child star, Ryan Gosling.
Hello?
Nathan, I've got something you need to see. I found this site that shows you what missing kids might look like today.
Continuing our look at former child stars, we'll now have a look at Taylor Lautner. Of course, he started off making the Shark Boy and Lava Girl movies with Robert Rodriguez when he was just a tot. Now he's all grown up with abs of steel, starring in the Twilight movies and a new movie called Abduction.
Who are you, really?
I'm one of your keepers, Nathan. I'm put in place to look after you. It's the arrangement I made with your father in case something like this ever happened.
This is crazy! Call the police or something!
I already tried.
Abduction is one of the worst movies to hit theaters in a very long time. Not since Geppetto carved Pinocchio out of a solid block of oak has there been a performance as wooden as Taylor Lautner's is in this movie. And lines of dialogue like, "There's a bomb in the oven," the most hilariously bad line of dialogue of the year, can't even be rescued by good actors like Alfred Molina.
The world you've just been dropped into is a world very few people get to see. What we're engaged in here is a polite war.
The question is not, how did that bomb get in the oven, but how did this bomb get into theaters?
Knowledge of knowledge. What was the name of the shark in Jaws?
The shark in Jaws was named Bruce, named after Steven Spielberg's lawyer.
What did Spinal Tap drummer John Stumpy Pepys, as played by Ed Begley Jr., die of in the movie This Is Spinal Tap?
He died from a bizarre gardening accident.
Shut up.
I bought this house for the two of us when I signed my first contract.
You don't think I remember anything, do you? There are a whole lot of things I remember. And you never paid for this house. Baby Jane Hudson made the money that paid for this house. That's who.
You don't know what you're saying.
Blanche.
Now, there's many movies that you need to see starring actual former child stars, but there's only one essential movie about a former child star, and that is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, starring Bette Davis as Baby Jane, a former vaudeville star whose best days are behind her. She lives in a rambling old house with her sister Blanche, played by Joan Crawford, who's lost the use of her legs, and between the two of them, they spend most of the movie bickering and arguing and doing terrible things to one another. Now, I'll tell you, I love this movie because it really cemented in the public's opinion what the image of a former child star was, someone whose days of fame were long behind them. A good performance from Joan Crawford, but a towering performance from Bette Davis as Baby Jane makes this movie not just one of my favorite movies about former child stars, but just one of my favorite movies.
Hi, and welcome to Celebrity Picks. I'm here with Wenema, lead singer of the band Madame Robot and the Lust Brigade.
Oh, Kitty, look at what you've done.
And he's going to tell us about one of his favorite movies, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, starring one of his all-time favorite former child actresses, the lovely Elizabeth Taylor.
I love that movie because it's just non-stop viciousness. Brick, the main character, Paul Newman's character, he's more obsessed with his feelings or shortcomings with his own life. And when you're not at your best, it's really hard to love someone.
What's your favorite thing about Elizabeth Taylor?
She's very, very smoky in this movie. And she also seems pretty crazy, you know? I'm attracted to crazy people.
How is this movie gonna make me feel if I go watch it now?
It's got drinking and fighting and yelling and insults. You know, all the good things that make a Saturday night.
All right, Wenema, thanks so much for talking about Cat on a Hot Tin Roof today.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next time.
The words former child star conjure up images of once celebrated kids, now adults with rap sheets and authority issues. And while that stereotype might be true for some former child actors like Corey Haim, Lindsay Lohan, and Gary Coleman, it isn't the rule. Show business is filled with former child stars like Jodie Foster, like Ron Howard, like Scarlett Johansson, like Soleil Moon Frye, who have moved on from child stardom to have fulfilling careers as adults, both in front of and behind the camera, both in and out of public life. Now, I do think it's time to put the tired old stereotype of the abused child actor to bed, probably forever, but I also think that it's important to note the route to success that a lot of former child actors took. To a number, they all thank their parents for providing really decent guidance to them in the early parts of their career. I mean, would Lindsay Lohan have had a better shot if her parents had treated her like a child rather than a meal ticket? Well, we may never know for sure, but I think we have an inkling. Scorpion King 3. Now, was there a Scorpion King 2? Either way, the newest addition to the Mummy franchise is further proof of the law of diminishing returns. The further away you get from the source, the worse the movie. ROBOTROPOLIS is a low-budget robots go nuts movie with no stars, a familiar story, and a few gruesome moments that will likely only appeal to Robo fans. Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star, is a Happy Madison production with all the good and bad that implies. Adam Sandler's production company pumps out good-natured but low-rent comedies like this faster than Kim Kardashian can file for divorce, but like Kim's marriage, this one's a bit of a train wreck. The story of a rock singer's friend who didn't make the leap to the big time, killing Bono, is an enjoyable but slight look at the downside of obscurity, most notable for Pete Postlethwaite's final performance as a lovable but campy character with a heart of gold. Well, that's it for all the fan mail and for this edition of This Week on Movies. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to join us again next time when I give you the lowdown on everything that's new and cool for download right here on iTunes. And in the meantime, remember, I watch bad movies so you don't have to. Paul Giamatti and Philip Seymour Hoffman, George Clooney, and Catherine Keener are, she's not in it, from George Clooney, Paul Giamatti, Marissa Tomei, I was going to say that name, I was going to call her Catherine Keener again.
You have just watched This Week on Movies, starring Richard Crouse. Guests of This Week on Movies stay at friends' houses because there is no budget to put them up at a hotel.